Hi guys, and welcome to the Webseries Digest. I'm Sara, and this is episode 1, Is Web Series Right for You? Joining me today are my two guests.
Hi, I'm Nicole.
And I'm Shannen.
Awesome. Welcome to my apartment.
Humble abode.
Welcome to the place where we live, and Nicole
And I live
visits.
on occasional weekends.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, so today we're going to talk about, like I already said before, is web series right for you?
Do you want to, feel free to cut out when I'm prompting you. Do you want to talk a little bit about what this whole show will be before we launch into
I
this
guess.
episode?
Yeah, that seems logical.
Probably.
Yeah, okay. So basically the purpose of this podcast is to provide a how-to resource for people attempting to make web series for the first time. Because if you don't know what you're doing, it can go downhill really fast. Right now it's relevant to say, just like Fire Festival.
Oh my god.
That's going to be irrelevant by the time we
It's
put
totally
this out.
going to be irrelevant by the time that this goes up. But right now, as we are recording...
You know what's always relevant? DashCon.
That's right. If you don't know what you're doing, and you just do it anyway, you get DashCon. So,
DashCon. Should we say what web series we've made? In case people don't know.
In
That
case
seems
someone's
logical.
listening to this, yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing, guys.
It's
That's
okay.
why this we're
Okay.
That's why
really
Shannon's here for you.
So, Nicole, really quickly, what web series have you done?
Hi, I made the Blair Goddess Project. I also did the camera thing for Hamlet the Dame and helped with other stuff. And I was the co-creator of the greatest web series of all time, Eddy Rex.
Shannen.
Yeah, I made this show, The Adventures of Jamie Watson and Sherlock Holmes, with you, Sara. And then I made Hamlet the Dame, and then I was co-creator on the greatest web series to ever exist, Eddy Rex.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're gonna be on a couple more episodes, so you're gonna hear that again in case you missed it.
It's
Yeah.
the greatest web series of all time.
What was it?
Eddy Rex!
Okay, so this is not the Eddy Rex podcast.
Why not?
Unfortunately.
If you haven't watched Eddy Rex, stop listening to this podcast.
No, don't stop
Go
listening.
go watch Eddy Rex. It'll only take like half an hour.
25 minutes.
25 minutes. Then come back and listen to this podcast once you have experienced the greatest web series.
I also worked on Notes by Christine.
Oh, I was in one episode of Notes by Christine.
Yeah.
There
So.
you go.
These things happened.
Mm-hmm.
You might not have known, listeners.
Fun fact.
And Sara also worked on all these things, except
Notes by Christine, because I was in London.
And Sara and Shannon were also guest stars in the Blair Goddess Project.
Yeah, I keep on forgetting that I did that.
Yeah,
What
because we
happened?
didn't know each other at that time.
Yeah.
Like, that was the first time we met.
I don't even remember what my first impression of you is.
You
Well-
were the last person that Blair murdered.
Aw, so sweet.
But she presumably
She got
brought
brought
it
back.
Presumably.
Yeah.
She did.
Okay.
That's
So-
not confirmed in any
Yeah, it's not.
extraneous
It's
fic,
not,
so-
but,
Presumably,
Okay.
let's get back on topic.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about, is web series right for you? Basically, why are you making this web series? Should you be making a web series? And if it's your first web series and you've done literally nothing else ever before in your life
With
that
film.
involves with film, or you could have just popped into existence and been like, so I'm here to make a web series.
I'm a baby who wants to make a
What
web
are some
series.
things that you could do to kind of help you prep for this project? So, we're going to start with a brief history of web series, and I have the Wikipedia page on web series
Very
pulled up on my
credible source
phone.
here.
Yeah, super
That's
credible.
true podcasting right there.
Jules is going to be mad at us that we're not using her web series timeline.
I mean,
But hers is just literary web series.
yeah,
that's
no,
true.
this is going back.
Yeah, we're not just talking about
So-
literary.
I could also go to the main article, web television.
Wow.
So,
That's a
The
little
Spot...
That probably includes Netflix, though.
Yeah, probably. So, The Spot, or thespot.com, was the first episodic online story, and the first website to integrate photos, videos, and what later became known as blogs into the storyline.
Transmedia.
It was created in 1995 by Scott Zarkarin. That looks like how it's pronounced.
As a baby.
I was being born.
1995, I was 2.
I was presumably either a fetus or a newborn. I was born in August, so who knows when it was lifted. Okay. The spot was likened to Melrose Place on the web and featured a rotating cast of attractive actors playing trendy and hip 20-somethings who rented rooms in a fabled Southern California beach house called The Spot in Santa Monica, California.
Yeah,
no!
They can go read
That
their
was
own
important.
Wikipedia page.
Here's what
That
I
was
say.
important.
Forget the podcast. We're remaking The Spot. We're the attractive, trendy
We gotta-
20-something.
Yeah.
God,
There
no.
you
We
go.
gotta move to
No,
Santa
no,
Monica,
actually,
though.
our spin in our remake is that the 20-somethings are not attractive.
They're not
And it
attractive.
sucks.
Excuse me.
And then also in that year, Bullseye Art was one of the first web publishers to create animated webisodes. So basically 1995 was a hopping year. My birth.
yeah,
first
very
web
important things.
series.
The
happened.
Lion King was released on VHS.
Wow.
Yeah.
Important
So-
events of 1995.
Yeah.
2 years later.
Oklahoma bombing, but that's kind of a downer.
Oh,
Well,
I was
thank you
gonna
for
say
that.
2 years later, the most important film was released. Anastasia.
Yeah.
Cut this part out.
Okay, anyway. In 2003, Microsoft launched MSN Video, which had an original web series, Weird TV 2000, despite the fact that it was launched in 2003. So they were trying to reset the
Weird
clock a
TV
little
2000. They were real nostalgic for 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit nostalgic for 3 years ago with our current situation of the world.
bit. Okay, and then...
Get us to
I'm
Lonely Girl
trying-
15.
Lonely Girl
Lonely
15.
Girl 15 is not
which I have
mentioned in
never
this.
actually
That's
seen.
ridiculous.
That
well,
was an important web series.
tell us about
of
Lonely
history.
Girl 15, Nicole.
I'm
Okay,
looking,
well,
I'm looking up web television to see if I
I
can get a
have
better...
never seen Lonely Girl 15, but my understanding of Lonely Girl 15 is that it started as if it was just a girl making a vlog. Sound familiar?
Yeah.
And then, as it went on, mystical things started happening and it became a web series. And there were people at the beginning who actually thought that it was just a real person making a vlog. And then things started happening. Also, fun fact, because not everyone knows this, the guy that played Mr. Collins in the Lizzie Bennet Diaries was in Lonely Girl 15.
I didn't know that.
I don't know what he played, but I know
Maxwell
that is a
Glick.
thing. Yes, Maxwell Glick is
He's
his
cool.
name.
Okay, so it was apparently around 2006 when a lot of, like, independent web series happened. I guess the Rooster Teeth people got started in this time period. And then, so that was when Lonely Girl 15 happened, and they had 100 million views during its 26-month run.
What about the Guild?
Yeah.
The series was so successful that it secured a sponsorship deal with Neutrogena,
The
the
first
makeup thing.
the first
people.
web series that I ever watched was The Guild. With,
Yeah, me too.
Which, if you haven't
far
seen
as
The
I know.
Guild, do you live on the internet? But
I don't think I've ever seen The Guild.
oh, it's
Oh, wait. It
got Felicia Day.
Yep,
and-
it was just mentioned. I guess that happened like 2007.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out when it happened. Yeah.
Okay.
But it went, because it was like...
It got really big, and then they put it on Netflix, and
The seasons were really sporadic, so it went on for quite a while.
2008, Dr. Horrible sing-along blog
Oh,
happened.
yeah.
Yeah. that
Good.
That's a weird one because when I first saw it, I definitely did think of it as a web series because I watched it online, and then later I heard people referring to it as a movie or
Well,
as-
because it aired as 3 episodes,
Yeah.
and then after that it was basically
They just
just the
combined
one movie. So that's how I watched it, as a movie.
I remember we watched the first episode in school because my drama teacher showed it to us, and then he was like, the rest is inappropriate for school, but if you want to go watch it on your own time, ask your parents if it's okay. And we
Yeah.
were like, okay.
Okay, back to this. So then, the International Academy of Web Television formed in 2009, followed by the first awards program for the web television industry called the Streamy Awards. And then after that, that particular Wikipedia page starts going into like Netflix and Amazon web television. So back to web series. And I don't think any of this is particularly relevant, but particularly for literary inspired web series, which I think most of the listeners will be more interested in making, but hopefully will reach
And more familiar with.
Lizzie Bennet Diaries happened in 2012. Video Game High School started in 2012.
But
Carmela.
that's not literary.
No, Carmilla happened in 2014.
And the Lizzie Bennet Diaries.
This article has not been updated because it still lists the Lizzie Bennet Diaries as 2012 to present.
That's funny.
So,
Lizzie Bennet Diaries was the first one that I watched that I really, really kept up with.
And,
like,
yeah, the Lizzie Bennet Diaries is, you know, it started a new era.
wave. Yeah,
And
for sure.
It was my first web
like,
series.
Lonely Girl 15 was like a vlog-style web series, and I mean, it was a vlog-style web series that because web series just weren't done yet, like, people could fall for it, but nowadays that won't happen. But it's a vlog-style web series, which is now, like, very popular, and it utilized social media, but we say transmedia as to mean that the social media was connected to the story, and so, yeah. And so now that's like... And then obviously it was based on Pride and Prejudice, so it was literary, and so that just started the whole new wave of, oh, let's take classic works that are in public domain and make them vlog style.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I
attach
think
social media
someone
to it.
could achieve a Lonely Girl 15 again, but the problem is that most web series nowadays like do a lot of advertising and trying to drum up watches.
You can't do
You
it
would
again
have to-
because there's too much content on the internet now.
Yeah, for sure.
Because Lonely Girl 15 was like right at the beginning.
That was
of
in the
YouTube.
era of, like, if you were a vlogger, there were going to be people watching you because there were, like,
Yeah.
7 vloggers.
So
It was
Yeah,
like
so
Natalie
you could,
Tran,
like-
the Green Brothers, and like 4 other people.
So you could do
Smosh.
it again, that people could fall for it, but just not enough people would watch it at the beginning to make it like this huge thing that Lonely
You'd
Girl
have to
15
actually
was.
become a popular YouTuber first,
Yeah.
and then turn it into a web series, which would take an extreme amount of dedication. Anyway,
But that would be really cool. Any
would be
popular
cool.
YouTubers out there want to do
who
that?
want to turn yourselves into a web series, feel free.
Call us and we'll write you the scripts.
It'll be great. We should get back on track.
Yeah. Well, that was basically it. That's basically
Yeah,
a brief
that was
history
the
of
brief
web
history.
series.
And then I'm sure you guys all know what has happened since the Lizzie Bennet Diaries. If you don't, you can go look
Yeah.
at Jules's timeline.
Yeah, I just wanted to cover a little bit of like, because like, I researched it for an article I was writing, and I was like, I thought that like the first web series was Lonely Girl 15, but it turns out they've been happening since the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I was like, makes perfect sense, but I don't know why I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're going to talk about, on my little outline I've got here, getting filmmaking experience. And kind of what sort of experience you should have before embarking on a web series. Disclaimer, you can totally make a web series as your first ever project.
Some of the people who will be on this podcast did that.
Yes.
And it went successfully.
Yes,
So.
for sure. But I, as someone who made were part of the production of several short films before I even touched a web series, I would not personally recommend it.
It depends on what you're doing and like just who you are.
Also the
because-
style of the web series.
Yeah, and the style of the web series. Vlog style web series is pretty easy to, like, if you don't have a lot of filmmaking experience, you can make a vlog style web
Yeah.
series because it's usually just like one setup.
It's more in the writing and the
Yeah.
acting. It's not
we
really so much in the
discussed
filmmaking.
it, I think, in Daisy's documentary,
But
which
you
I don't know
how
if-
much is going to make it
Yes,
in, 'cause
exactly.
she's
But
cut
so
it
I'll
down.
just talk
Yeah.
about it anyway, and I'll link Daisy's documentary in the notes, presuming it's up at this point when I air this. Which is essentially, if you're making a vlog style web series, it could be a 1-person production. It could be
Yeah,
a
we
1-person,
talked-
1 set, 1 camera production. I don't think it would be particularly good.
Yeah.
I don't think there would be enough to capture the audience's interest, personally, but you could do it. You could totally do a 1-person, 1 set,
If
1
you're
actor
that
web
compelling
series.
of a storyteller, I mean, because there are vloggers who did, like Natalie Tran, I keep saying Natalie Tran, but like, she's a 1-person show, and her videos are
Yeah.
crazy entertaining, and she plays all the characters, so like, it is feasible to do, but yeah, like you said, it's probably better to have other people.
Yeah, or they could all be, like, in the style of, say, like, a beauty vlogger or something, and then the story is being discussed while
Right,
the...
yeah.
Like, you could do it. I think it would just be very, very difficult, and it would be hard to keep your audience engaged. Especially, like, say you were trying to do, like, a a Pride and Prejudice or something, because everyone would want to see Mr. Darcy.
Right.
And you can't.
Yeah,
you can't not show Mr. Darcy.
Didn't we go through this whole discussion and land on a classic literature that you could do with one person?
I think we did.
I don't remember what.
I don't remember what
said.
it was.
But I think if you were we're not saying
Maybe
if you want to do it with
I bet
just
you could do Frankenstein with one person.
We're not saying do that. We're just saying like it's feasible.
What was it? Now it's
if
gonna
you
bother
wanna
me.
do
What
it.
was it? We went through a bunch.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember.
Well,
but
you can
even
ask
then
Daisy,
we were
actually,
like,
she's got it in her footage.
Yeah. So do we want to each talk about like what
Our
our
own personal
filmmaking
experience.
experience?
I was
Yeah.
gonna say the same thing. Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, let's do left to right.
All
Apparently,
right.
I don't know how to do directions.
So my filmmaking experience is, well, my dad is a news director, so like and he was a photographer, videographer, so I just kind of always grew up like knowing stuff about film, not like narrative film. I mean, we're really big into movies, but I knew about like cameras and stuff. But I'm not like a technical expert. I just mean I know how to use a camera to record shit. But so, and then in like middle school, high school, I carried a camera with me everywhere. And I just made like videos of my friends, but they were just kind of like fan videos of my friends, like montage things.
That's cute.
And sometimes we do, well, I remember in elementary school doing like 2 episodes of like a talk show with my friends. And so sometimes we'd do little skit things, or
Didn't you make
I'd
that
film
Matrix
drama
parody?
shows. Yeah, that was for a class. If it was an option to make a video in a class for a project, I always did that, except that
Me
it
too.
involved having other people, which I didn't like, but that one was like the assignment was make a video, and I made a Matrix parody, and I won Best Director in class for that.
Wow.
So yeah, I got a megaphone. It was great. And then, so that was like, I in high school did more short films, kind of, mostly for class and just with my friends. I wouldn't like think of them as my first short films, like basically, because they were really little. And then in college I joined the film club at FSU and made more real short films. And that was around the time Lizzie Bennett was happening. And then my sophomore year, the Catanias made Notes by Christine, so then I
God
got
bless
in on
them.
that. Yeah. And that was like right after Lizzie Bennett Diaries. Like they were on it. That was
Yeah,
one of the
really
first
were.
ones. And
Which,
then
if you know anything about Jen, is not surprising.
yeah. And then, so then it was like, oh, we kind of want to keep up this web series thing for Film Club, even though it wasn't a Film Club production, technically. It was
It
just
said
like,
Film Club in the description on YouTube.
yeah. But it wasn't like, it was basically because it was all Film Club people, but it wasn't actually like we didn't use Film Club resources, really,
Gotcha.
is what I'm saying. But yeah, so
Which is
then...
basically how Tajwash operated.
Yeah,
as well.
so then Tajwash, which is our shortened version of The Adventures of Jamie Watson and Sherlock Holmes, in case you don't know that.
It's a mouthful.
Tajwash was what we did for the next 2 years. Yeah, so I had made a ton of little film things. I'd never done, a project like Tajwash. And then I was making other short films while doing Tajwash. And I wasn't just making my own short films, I was working on other people's films. Like my whole first year at Film Club, I don't think we made any of my scripts. We did my first one my second year. So I was just like doing random production assisted things.
I don't think we ever made one of my scripts in Film Club.
In Film Club?
In Film Club. No, we almost
No, I
made
don't think
Life Before
so.
Was Tragic, but that fell through because we couldn't find
Yeah.
actresses.
So we made my short film Stuck in the Loop, which was a little time travel-y
Gemini,
thing.
right?
And then Gemini we made
Gemini's
a year later. That was during filming of Tajwash. We made Zombie Punch 2 Punch Hard
Zombie
musical
Punch 2.
during the course of filming Tajwash. It's really weird to think of like all the shit we did
No, you're
while
thinking
filming
of-
Tajwash. What?
We didn't film Zombie Punch 2 Punch Harder the musical during Tajwash because I was in London while that was filming. You're thinking of
Oh.
Zombie Punch
It was
3.
before I graduated.
You're right. Yeah, Zombie Punch 2
Zombie
was my
Punch
second
2
year.
and 3 were before I graduated.
I was thinking it was
saw
the next
them.
year. No, you're right. Zombie Punch 2 was my second year, and then we did Taj Watch the next year. But we did Gemini during Taj Watch, and Gemini was, I wrote that, but I didn't direct it. And I was in it, as I do.
And her co-star was the most beautiful man in the world.
Most beautiful man in the world, Yankiel
Camarasa. A.K.A. Chad from the Blair Goddess Project.
Okay, we're gonna
really
keep
weird
this
to watch
moving.
that.
Okay, let's...
Nicole, you talk about your filmmaking experience.
No, but I think it's important to talk about this because I think maybe people don't realize that, yes, this is our first web series, but we've done a lot of other stuff.
You've watched,
We've had
if
a
you've
camera
watched
in our
web
hand.
series, but you haven't watched Stuck in the Loop and Zombie Punch, Punch Harder, the musical, and Gemini, and I edited
And that's
Hipster
okay,
and a Robbery.
like, you didn't
and
make those first.
yeah, it's like that was all learning experiences, and that was the point of Film Club, and obviously it would be cool if people watched it, but we weren't like, internet, please watch our thing.
Yeah, watch
or
my
we'll
horror
die.
movie, Remove the Batteries, where Shannen gets killed by a Furby.
Yeah. Like, yeah, we did all these little things. And then
My
before
neighborhood
that, I have all these
8-year-old
little
loves
videos.
it.
I'm going to talk about my experience now.
Go.
So, I have sort of a similar thing to Shannon. No one in my family was into film, but I was that person who would always pick to do the video project if that was an option. I remember we made a video in 6th grade, and we made another one in 7th grade, and we got, like, known for that. A couple of my friends and I got known for being the ones that always made the video. And then I got my own little video camera when I was in middle school, and that was, like, a huge deal. And I also would film my friends, and I also would make stupid videos of my friends. And when I was in high school, I tried a couple times to start a vlog. Did not go super well.
Oh, yeah, me too.
But, you know, everybody has to do it at some point.
I never did.
Well, that's probably for the best because it was not good. But it was an experience. And I got experience editing. And then when I was in junior year of high school, I tried to sign up for one elective, and I got stuck in TV production, and I was originally going to switch out, but then I ended up loving it, and then I ended up being like, hey, I actually like making videos. I took it for another year, and I got a lot of experience from those 2 years, but, I mean, I thought I did. I got out of high school like, yeah, I know how to edit, and I know how to use Final Cut Pro, and I know how to make videos, and then I got to college, and, you know, made stupid videos for the first 2 years of just, like, my friends and our, I hate that you've ruined this word for me, but shenanigans. And then in junior year of college, I started in the media production program at FSU and realized that I didn't know anything about making films. And I had a lot of editing experience. I had almost zero actual film experience. The first short film that I ever made, and actually the only short film that I ever made, was a hot mess. It was bad, but it was for a class project. And so we made that, and then I found out about Notes by Christine around the same time through a very long and funny story that I'm not going to tell because it'll go on for too long. And then I was on set for that like once, and I was never on set for Taj Wash. But I had in my mind for like 3 years that I wanted to make a web series, but I'm very glad that I didn't actually make it until when I did, because had I made it originally when I was planning on making it, which was like while Lizzie Bennet Diaries was going on, it would have just been me playing Blair. Her name wouldn't have been Blair, but it would have been me playing the goddess sitting in front of a camera like you guys said, and it would have been a one-person show, and it would have just been the ranting that she does about humans, which like is fine, but that wouldn't have been a whole show. So anyway, and then I got into this wacky world of web series, and here we are today. I also worked at a wedding video company for a year, and I had been working there for about one semester when I started making Blair, and that helped a lot because at that job I learned how to use a DSLR, which I didn't know how to use before because I had only ever used, I don't remember, Panasonics or whatever, but I had never used the like fancy camera with the lens. So basically what I'm saying is I took a lot of classes and I messed around for years with film before I ever made anything that I like wanted to show to people on the internet.
Okay,
Sarah.
I made a short film for my senior project in high school called Changeling. It's still on the internet. It's a hot mess. Please don't watch it.
She really sells herself short with this short film because I
mean, it
really
was made
like
by a
it.
high schooler, so
The
I say knowing that a lot of people who make web series are high schoolers.
The coolest thing
I'm
I
sorry.
did was I actually casted actual actors from around Florida.
Yeah, that's like the most incredible
people came
thing.
out from
there are
Miami.
like 20 people in
What?
this film.
Oh, okay, you'll have to watch. Okay,
I've heard of it, but I didn't
maybe
know
I'll
that.
let you watch it. Yeah, no, I got people to come from Miami. One of the girls in it ended up in a Nickelodeon show.
Wow.
She's Talia in the kitchen, I think was what it was called.
I don't know.
She was in it. I'm very proud of her. I haven't talked to her since we filmed, but I'm like,
Be like,
damn.
"Hey, girl,
Her
hook me up
start,
now."
Sarah.
Yeah, no, she told me after they did my short film, she and her two younger siblings, who were also in my film, started getting all this work. And so they were like, we think that you're a blessing. And I was like,
That's so
I
cute.
did
And Sarah
literally
thinks this
nothing.
movie is bad.
it's not good.
It started someone's career, Sarah. On Nickelodeon.
No, yeah, it's a good movie.
Yeah,
Okay.
her show ended up getting canceled, though. I'm really sad
Oh,
for her.
bummer.
Well,
Well,
hopefully
yeah.
they'll
Lots
get
of shows
something
get
else.
canceled.
Yeah. Anyway, so
You know what doesn't get canceled?
that was my
Web
first
series,
short
because we
film.
persevere.
It's a silent movie.
It's got music.
Yeah, so it doesn't have any dialogue. So I was like, it's gonna be so hard to get kids to do this dialogue. And then I was like, what the hell? Why don't I make it a silent movie? So I did. The big
You're so
thing
clever.
with it is it's shot really beautifully because I had someone, a family friend who just happened to be in town who had a DSLR who shot film for a living. And so he did all the shooting. It's the sound that sucks. So maybe one day when I actually know how to do sound editing properly, I'll go through and I'll make it actually sound really good. But I don't know how to do sound editing now, and I didn't know how to do sound editing then, so I'm terrible. So then
Sarah.
Cut that part out.
I got to college. I joined the film club at FSU.
She met me.
I did.
And her career took off.
I met Shannen. I don't remember my first impression of Shannen, but we somehow became friends. I think we mainly became friends because at one point I was like, Shannen, I want to make a movie about a killer Furby.
Well, you, one of the first scripts we did was Stuck in the Loop.
And I was on that.
And since you were a new member, you were like you were like the assistant producer. You were like training
Yeah,
producer.
I just
And
remember
think that's
shooting,
kind of how-
trying to shoot behind the scenes footage, and the camera kept on deleting it.
Yeah, I
and then
know.
sitting on the stairs in the townhouse watching a movie on my phone because,
Yeah. Producers don't do anything on set.
yeah, nothing else was happening. So then I was like, Shannen, I want to make a movie about a killer Furby. So then we made Remove the Batteries, which I do like that movie. Again, the sound editing could be a lot better, but it's a pretty decent, funny film, in my opinion. It's just clearly a student film. Then I went to London for a semester. Then I came back. Then
Let's tell the story of when I told Sarah I wanted to make Taj Wash. So I actually don't know if we told this story in any commentary or anything.
Okay.
So I, all year, had been thinking about, like, I want to make a web series.
especially after working on stuff on Notes by
Yeah,
Christine.
and I was working on Notes by Christine this whole time. And so my first idea was I was going to make a modern Cupid and Psyche. Because that was my NaNoWriMo.
They did that, actually.
That I did.
There's another
yeah,
web
I'm sure
series
some-
that exists of that.
And I was, because that was my NaNoWriMo that year. But then I decided that the way that I wrote it, my NaNoWriMo story, which is like the story I would want to do, it wouldn't really work in a web series, at least not a vlog style web series. You don't have to do web series vlog style, but like, it would have been really complicated. So then I was like, wait a second, I've always wanted to play Sherlock Holmes, and this is how I do things. I'm like, well, I've always wanted to play that.
Sister's idea.
So, yeah, that's right. My sister was like, hey, we should make a Sherlock Holmes web series where you're Sherlock Holmes and I'm Mycroft. But I always was like, I want to play Sherlock Holmes someday. At my first film club meeting, actually, the like icebreaker question. Maybe this wasn't my first meeting. Maybe it was. I don't remember. The icebreaker question was like, if you could make any movie, what would you make? And I was like, I'd make female Sherlock Holmes. So,
Shocker.
then I got into my head I was going to make female Sherlock Holmes. But I wasn't telling Sarah that she was Watson. I just didn't tell her. And then because we decided to be roommates, while she was in London.
Yeah, and we were, like, literally messaging every single day, probably a good 6 hours a day while I was in London, just constantly.
We don't even talk that much now.
No.
So...
And they work at the same job and carpool every day.
Yeah,
God.
so we're literally with each other constantly.
Yeah.
24/7.
It's probably a little unhealthy.
So, then it came time to pick our room for our dorm, and I log in, and I'm like, oh, what floor do you want to live on? And Sarah's like, oh, the 3rd floor would be nice, but it was too late by the time she sent that message.
You already
Because I already found 221 was available, and I was like, never mind, Sarah, we're gonna move to 221. Also, by the way, I want to make a Sherlock Holmes web series, and she was like, I'll be Watson, and I was like, that's good, because you already were. So I didn't even have to ask, and that's how Taj Wash was born.
Yep.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful...
So then we made it.
Yeah, we did make it.
For 2 years.
God. You know, I have some, like... I'm like, gee, there's a ton of shit I didn't do in college, and it's totally Taj Wash's fault. Because every weekend we were filming
But
that
you
monster.
made a 2-season
Yeah,
web
We
series.
did! I don't know
That
if
is a
it'll-
thing that you did in college that
Yeah.
And I
not a
was
lot
like,
of people can say.
I know, and I was like, I'm gonna get a job with this, and then I never did.
Well, it's only been a
If
year.
you're
It's
listening
true.
to this and you want to give us a job, we live
Please.
in Orlando, Florida.
That's one thing.
I am
sometimes-
willing to relocate if you pay for my relocation.
Sometimes I'm like, I wish I hadn't made the 2nd season of Taj Wash so that I could have enjoyed my last year in
What
college
would
better.
you really have been doing?
But I mean, sleeping. But then
Partying
I'm
every
like,
night.
The 2nd season was. I mean, everyone who's watched it knows that the 2nd season is way better than the 1st season, and it's a step up in like every way. And so I learned a lot, and then, yeah, basically I learned a lot.
It was worth it.
And it was way better. And I think looking back years from now,
You'll be glad you
I'll
did.
be happy because the 1st season I'm not like super pleased. Like the 1st season is exactly what I thought it would be. The 2nd season didn't reach in a lot of points what I wanted, but it went way further than the 1st season. So I think years from now when I look back, if it had just been the 1st season, I'd be like, oh, that's boring.
Yeah.
That's not a show I want to watch. But you should watch it, listener.
But it's not boring. It is a good show.
No, I just watched the first episodes recently, and I was like,
If you watch the first
Wow.
episodes, they look like
I'm
infants.
a bad actor.
Infants.
I was
I
a
have
bad
gained
actor.
a lot of weight.
Sarah looks like a baby child
I
in
had
the first
a
episode.
lot of hair.
That's true.
I have about the same amount of hair.
Get through. If you watch Taj Wash, you got to get through the first 2 videos because there's no good sound and we're boring.
Just get through the first season.
God.
No.
Kidding.
Episode 5 is really good of the first season. That's the room tour,
Room tour.
and I just look like a cat.
I can't do a New Zealand
Okay, so
accent.
anyway, back to
Okay.
making web series.
So, kind of to decide if web series is right for you, there's basically 2 things, which is kind of like, the first thing is, I don't know how to describe it, but I wrote a note here, which is film versus TV equals short films versus web series. And it's kind of, I think what I was trying to say with that note is, like, format matters, I guess.
And film is to TV what short films are to web series.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
short form versus long form.
And yeah, and know what, like, I guess I think what I was thinking of is, like, know what your story is and know what your story wants to tell. Because if you're thinking of making a web series, you have a story in mind. Even if it's just a couple characters and, the bare basis of a plot and just, like, basically, I want a goddess who comes and talks shit about mortals.
Yeah, that was pretty much it.
Like, that's, you have that idea. So it's like, okay, so should this be a short film or should this be a web series? Well, it'll probably be funnier if you have a longer, drawn-out series of the goddess talking shit about the mortals
Although,
instead of
I'm
just
going
a
to be
short
really
film.
honest, I was like, Lizzie Bennet Diaries is a cool thing. I want to make a web series. What can I make a web series about? And my
Yeah.
dad went, you like Greek mythology, make a web series about that. And
Yeah.
I was like, all right.
So it's basically, I think what I was trying to say with that was basically, like, know what your story is and know kind of what the format that would best suit it would be.
Yeah.
Scope
So
is
it might be,
important.
yeah, scope. So it might be best for your, for your series to be a short film. For example, I would never make a web series of a Furby killing people. Not a furry. A Furby.
Now that's web series, though.
Yes.
I think if you're not ready to commit to a very big time commitment, maybe don't make a web series yet.
Yes, because a web series is going to be much longer than a short film.
It will eat your life.
Unless you're doing a really, really short web series, like a 6-episode web series or something like that. Like,
yeah, where it's
we did
basically
Eddy Rex in 2
a
weekends.
short film is generally defined, I think, by being under an hour.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Let me Google
If it's
it.
45 minutes, I'm not calling it a short film anymore.
I'm going to talk while you look this up.
Okay.
Damn it, what was I going to say?
Short film, web series.
Okay, so a short film, I don't want people to get the misconception that a short film is easy. A short film does not, I mean, depending on the film, it usually doesn't take a day to film.
Okay, sorry. Interrupting you. According to the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, they define a short film as an original motion picture that has a running time of 40 minutes or less, including all credits. Incidentally, the requirements for getting your an Oscar for a short film are pretty much basically you showed the film in California, it was either in or won at a film festival. So
Get on that shit.
yeah, I wanted, because we were thinking about it after the Oscars. We were like, what's the requirements? And then I looked them up, and I'm like, we could do, like, if we made a good enough short film, we could do that now.
But we're talking about web series.
I know, we're talking about web series, but basically this is a plug for short films before we talk about why you might want to make a web
series. It's good practice.
Yeah.
Because it teaches you how to
win an
do
Oscar for a web
cameras,
series.
and it teaches you how to be on set.
And, like, most web series are shorter than TV episode-wise, and short films are shorter than film episode-wise, so it's like okay, they're short-form versus long-form content, but web series, like TV shows, are short-form content within long-form content.
Yes.
So when you make a short film, you learn how to do shorter things. It's like a book, too. Chapters are short things within a long thing.
Yeah. I think the point of what we're trying to say here is if you've never touched a camera before and you want to make a web series, that's fine. Do it. Like, that's fine. But if you've never touched a camera before and you want to get a little bit of experience before you make a web series that you want to show people on the internet,
Yeah.
make a short film, make a little documentary, make a stupid montage of your friends, just to, like, get familiar with using a camera, get familiar with using editing software before you put yourself on trial. Because when you're putting a web series online and saying, hey, watch this, I made it, you're putting yourself out there. Like, it feels weird. It feels like, oh, people are going to watch this and judge it. And obviously the web series community is very, like, cool and doesn't say, like, oh, this is terrible and I can tell that it was made by an amateur, because we're all amateurs. But at the same time, if you do want your first thing to be your best foot forward, then don't be afraid to make stuff that you don't show to people before you make the stuff that you show to people.
And especially, like, kind of going along with all of this, and I know we're going to talk more about this in writing. I mean, I'm not, because I'm not on the episode, but it will be talked about more. But you got to consider, like, vlog style versus, like, a traditional TV film style, whatever. Vlog style is probably going to be easier. It's going to be harder writing because you are stuck to this, like, a character is behind the camera and you can only show so much and you can only put so much on the internet. Although that doesn't stop some web series. But it's like you have to take that all into account story-wise, but filming-wise it's probably
like a million times easier.
It is a lot easier.
Guys, throwback to way earlier in the podcast, Daisy got back to me. She said the yellow wallpaper was the closest we got to a one-person web series.
That's right. There's the short
now I remember.
story.
It's the short story. It's about the woman whose husband locks her up in a room because she has postpartum psychosis, and she starts rubbing the old wallpaper off the walls of the room as she slowly goes more and more insane.
Yeah.
That
It's
sounds
a pretty
like
cool,
it would be a really cheerful web series.
It's actually a really cool short story.
Go
Maybe
with
it would
the
be
yellow
better
wallpaper.
as a short film.
Someone has made some short films
sure.
of it.
What's that story where the guy gets turned into a cockroach? Let's do that.
Metamorphosis.
Yes!
Let's make
all
the
the
web
short
series
stories that you read in class.
The Cask of Amontillado.
Listen, when that meme was happening, I was like, why isn't someone getting on this right now?
Yeah.
Someone probably tried to, and it just fell apart.
No, I don't think anyone tried to
You can't have
make
that
it.
fast of a turnaround. You need to,
Because I was like, listen, modern Cask of Amontillado, let's do it.
2 frat boys.
I think I was
Except
actually thinking
instead
short
of, like,
film, but...
walling someone up, you, like, delete their Wi-Fi and steal their phone
That would be
and
funny.
cut them off from
Let's
society.
Let's do it right now.
Let's just, right now, instead of this
There's 3
podcast,
of
we're
us.
gonna
And
make
also
the Cask
they're
of
women
Amontillado.
and they're gay.
Yep. It's the summary of everything that
And
gets
also they're
made
women
around
and they're
here.
gay.
Okay.
And also, I mean, we talk about if you're doing a literature, classic literature, it's everyone modernizes it. So I mean, that's something to take into consideration too. Like, if you're gonna do classic literature, how are you gonna modernize it?
It's much less money to modernize.
Yeah, but also, is
Like-
it worth taking that classic piece of literature, or should you just write your own thing?
Yeah.
depends on
I
how
want
you're
to
gonna do
plug original shows for a second here because I don't think enough people take that into consideration because they watch literary web series and they love literary
Yeah.
web series and they think, I want to make a literary web series. But, I mean, there's a lot of creative people on the internet. There's
And
a lot
I
of good
think-
writers and storytellers.
I
and,
think
like,
part of
put
it
yourself out there and
is
make an original
because
thing.
people think that making a literary web series is going to be easier because the story already exists, but
In some ways it is.
it's only easier if it's, well, 1, depending on the story, and 2, depending on you, if you can adapt it well into modern day.
Well, it's easier to do it badly.
Well, yeah,
You
I
could
will-
just carbon copy it and...
but
Yeah. I will say, as kind of a plug for literary inspired web series versus original web series, which I agree there should be more original web series, is that with a literary inspired web series, you will have a built-in audience of people
Yeah,
who enjoy
So
the
you
story.
think until you put it on...
Well,
a little
it
bit.
depends on the
Yeah.
story, and it depends on who you're reaching out to. Because I think if you can get it to the people who already love that story,
Right.
they will, and you've done it as a good adaptation, you will, like, they'll watch it. You just have to get it to those people. Like, Notes
Which
by
is why I
Christine.
cheated and did Greek mythology.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's not an adaptation, but I could still tell people, this is a web series about Greek mythology. You should watch it.
Like, Notes by Christine, there's fans of the book, there's fans of the musical, so...
Notes by Christine is Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah, it's
for anyone
Phantom
who
of the
doesn't know.
Opera. So it's, once they got it, which I think they did tap into the
They had
musical
a pretty
audience, because they had a pretty good viewing
it's
base.
technically based on the book because book is in public domain.
Public domain.
Musical's not,
But once they
yeah.
reached the musical audience, and the musical audience got engaged, because I think their fan base is a little more rabid than
They
the-
also kind of had the benefit of making it when almost no one else was making
Yeah.
it, because
I
they made
mean,
it right after Lizzie
Yes,
Bennet.
but that's not the purpose of... Basically what I'm trying to say is that even if you can get to that viewing audience, because like Lizzie Bennet Diaries, there's a lot of fans of Pride and Prejudice. There's a lot of fans of Pride and Prejudice in the world. So if you reach, even if, like, I started watching it because I was a fan of Pride and Prejudice.
It's like
Yeah.
the fans of the original thing, I think, are more likely to keep watching.
That too.
If it's, especially if it's like, not very good. Especially at the beginning, probably your first couple episodes of your vlog style web series are not going to be like super engaging. But fans of the thing that you're adapting
We'll want to know
will-
how you did a
yeah.
certain storyline.
and
or a
so they're
certain
going to keep
character,
watching, and then
or they're going to hope their favorite character from the book
yeah,
is going to
they're
show
going to
up.
be interested in how you do it, and yeah.
Going back to it, everyone's just waiting for Mr. Darcy to show up.
Yeah. And that's Lizzie Bennet is a pretty close adaptation of Pride and Prejudice. But everybody watched it, and it's just the whole time you're like, well, but when's Darcy gonna show up? And
Yeah,
it's
That's
like,
exactly.
literally the comments on all of the videos.
Yeah, you
Yeah, it's
know
like,
exactly
Darcy,
what's gonna
where's
happen.
Darcy? Bring in Darcy.
And they acknowledged it in the show on several times. Like,
Yeah.
stop asking for Darcy. Why are you asking for Darcy?
Yeah, why would you want to see this man that all
And
I've
you know-
told you is that I hate him?
That's the thing, again, you can talk about this in writing, but, like, don't be afraid to also, like, adapt a classic literature thing, but, like, change the ending or something, because then the fans of that thing are gonna be like, whoa, what? Or, like, you
Surprise
change
them.
something about it. I mean, we do a lot of, like, modernizing, which just automatically changes stuff, but...
At this point, it's not surprising if you make them gay.
Well,
That's just a thought I just had. It's not surprising if you make them gay
It's not going to be a
Everyone
surprise if
accepts
at
it.
the end the gays get together, because...
because
we know
that's just
gonna
expected
happen.
at this point, yeah.
Unless
Anyway.
it's different gays.
Ooh. Like, instead of Darcy, she gets together with
Yeah.
Caroline.
That's a book that I've been meaning to read.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
All right, so I want to talk a little bit about why you are making this web series. And it's not, it's going back to what I said, you have a story in mind. If you're thinking about making a web series, you have a web story in mind.
If you don't have a story in mind, then stop and go
Come
back.
up with a story and then come back.
Though you've now wasted about an hour of your time, in which case I apologize. Anyway, so...
No, with all that stuff we did at the beginning,
you're
it's
right.
40 minutes.
It's like 40 minutes. Okay. So this is kind of like the standard why are you getting into the film industry speech that I'm sure everyone who's thought about being in the film industry has heard.
But I don't think everyone who wants to make a web series even cares about the film industry.
Okay, so
Yeah,
this
and
is...
just real quick, if you don't want to get into the film, you don't have to, like, want to be a filmmaker to be a web series.
No,
you can
you
do it in your
definitely
free
don't.
time. Like, I still don't know how much I want to be involved in, like, professional filmmaking, but I like
Same.
it, so I'm fine with doing it in my free
You
time.
have to like
You have
being
to like
a
doing it.
storyteller and doing film things.
Yeah. It's a
For
hobby.
the sake of itself and not for the sake of
Yeah.
viewers or anything else.
Yeah, that's basically what I want to say, is that if you're doing it for money, or you're doing it for views, or you're doing it because you will somehow be able to meet Hank Green. I just as an example,
celebrity
just
right now.
as an example,
You're gonna meet Lin-Manuel Miranda.
yeah, there we go, Lin-Manuel Miranda. You think it'll somehow get you to meet Lin-Manuel Miranda? I was just saying that Hank Green would.
I mean, I'm just saying,
more
if
logical.
there's a web series idea that's gonna get me to meet Lin-Manuel Miranda, let's make it.
Yeah.
Like, forget everything she's about to say.
Could be Moana the web series.
Yeah.
You'd meet him in court, but you get to meet him.
He's not the one suing you, because it's not his movie, really, but
No,
he's there.
you'd have
and-
to directly rip off.
We're gonna make
No, hear me out.
In the Heights, the web series.
Okay,
Yes,
we're gonna cast
there
all
we go.
white people.
There we go. I was gonna say, if you directly ripped off the Moana songs and performed them as spoken word poetry, he'd probably be in court.
You're-
My
in front of
dad
your
has
vlog.
a sailboat. Let's make the Moana web series and meet Lin-Manuel in court. I'm ready. Let's go.
Meet me in court, Lynn!
Meet me in the people's court. No, that was an SNL thing.
Okay, but, so back on track.
Whew.
Yeah,
What
so
is
you
that?
have to want to do it for yourself,
Yes.
which is kind of pretty popular advice for filmmaking and for writing. Like, you have to do it for yourself first, because if you don't like it, then no one else
is gonna like it. You have to be
People
your own
can
biggest
tell.
fan.
People can tell. They can't necessarily watch it and be like, "Oh, this person doesn't like what they're doing," but they can tell that they know it's not as good because you're not enjoying doing it, and then the quality is just not going to be as good.
Yeah,
Now-
there's no enthusiasm behind it. Then you're gonna know.
It's fake.
I just want to throw out a disclaimer. If you're thinking, oh, I like the idea of having a fandom, I like the idea of having viewers, maybe I shouldn't be doing this because it's just supposed to be fun. Listen, we're all narcissists. We all want viewers.
Yeah.
We all want fans. But that can't be, like, the main reason that you're doing. That
Yeah.
has to be the secondary reason. Because, yes, of course, like, if we didn't want anyone to watch our stuff, we wouldn't put it on the internet. But at the same time, the main reason that you're doing it has to be for yourself and because
Yeah, that's like,
you like
I mean,
it.
we talked about our history, and none of us were like, I want to make a web series to be famous. It was like, I want to make a web series, which in a way is like to be part of that community.
Yeah.
But being part of a community is different than
Getting views
fans.
or getting fans.
It's participating.
I'm sure even if you've never made a web series before, and I'm not going to specifically be web series, but you can definitely probably, as you're listening to this, think of at least one movie or television show that you knew as you watched it that the people who behind it just made it for money.
Yeah.
And the people who are in it are not having fun. They're there for a paycheck. like, you can think of that. Like, the one that's popping into my head right now is Pixels, because we were discussing it earlier today.
I've never heard of it.
It's the terrible Adam Sandler movie about the video games. That one. So it's like the people, like, I never watched it, but I could tell from, like, the trailers that everyone was there for a paycheck. And everyone was there.
And you know what?
Like,
sometimes those things do really badly, and sometimes those things do great.
Yeah.
Like,
it's totally arbitrary.
And it's just like, sometimes you watch a show and you're like, everyone on this show loves what they're doing. Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
I was going to say,
everyone on the show loves what they're doing. Everyone who watches this show loves it, but for some reason it just doesn't do as well as it should. And that happens. And
that happens with web series, too.
And it's really not predictable.
I mean, it happens across all forms of media.
Yeah.
You just have to have the perfect storm of factors.
The thing about predictable is you always think that something's going to happen, and then it never happens the way you want. Like, I thought making Blair that I was like, oh, I'm going to be able to get, like, random mythology fans to watch this or random Percy Jackson fans to watch this. No, it's totally random. It doesn't necessarily draw in the people that you think it's going to draw in. When we made Hamlet, we were thinking that, like, all the Tajwash people were going to watch it because that was the one that... But it got, like, new, different people... Like, things switch around, and it's... The people that you think are going to watch something sometimes are the people that end up watching it, and sometimes it's completely different people or no people at all. And you can literally never predict what people are going to do.
You can have, basically, you can have a target audience, but don't be surprised if your audience comes out of nowhere. My Little Pony. So that's the thing. Like, you can develop something with a target audience in mind. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. But don't be surprised if that target audience doesn't step up to the plate, or your audience comes out of...
audience, yeah.
Absolutely somewhere you didn't expect. 30-year-old men.
Okay.
I'm still talking about My Little Pony.
So yeah, the point is, don't have expectations. And
don't go into it thinking, oh, all the fans of this show are going to watch my show because it's this. No. Like, maybe, but probably not, and that's okay. Like, it's all okay.
Mm-hmm.
That was a little synchronized.
Mm-hmm. It's our hive mind.
There you go.
Anything else we need to cover?
I mean, I have my outline.
It's not on
there.
the other ones.
Yeah. I guess I will open it to you two. I know we've talked about a lot.
I just opened it to you. So.
Wow. I mean, I have my outline here. These were all the thoughts that I had.
Yeah, and we did that all.
We did it all. Do you guys have any thoughts that you would like to share with I was about to say the camera, but we have this recorder here.
Yeah.
Not a camera.
It's a microphone is what it's called in the business.
Sometimes in films.
This thing that has a light on it.
Yeah.
I guess I just want to repeat I think the most important things to take out of this thing that you just listened to. Make it for yourself first because you enjoy it, not because you think you're going to get viewers. Make a lot of stuff that you don't necessarily need to show to people before or during or while you're making the thing that you want to show to people to get experience. Make stuff to get experience. Continue to make stuff to get experience.
Yeah. I also just want to say real quick, we're definitely talking to people who are gonna do, like, multiple jobs on their project. Like, I'm assuming that people who are listening to this are gonna write their show, direct their show, produce their show, whatever. But if you just want to do one of those things, then, like, that's gonna be harder because you gotta find people to do those other things. But, like, then that's great. And totally do that if you have those people.
And if you're in a location like LA or New York or somewhere that there's like a lot of people making films, find somebody more knowledgeable than you and go, oh, that is another thing that I wanted to say. Find somebody more knowledgeable than you and get them to help you, because that is like what I did in the beginning of making film. Like, just make stuff with people who know what they're doing, because they will be like, this is what we do. And you're like, oh my God, I never would have thought of that. I mean, I did it through taking classes. They did it through film club. But basically, find people who sort of know what they're doing more than you and listen to the things that they say. You don't necessarily have to do everything they say, obviously, but, like, there's a reason they know more than you, and it's because they've been doing it longer than you.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought of that I want to say that because I was thinking you can almost think of the, like, writing it for you or making it for you. You can almost think of it as, like, when you write it, it needs to be for you, and then when you film it, you can think more about the audience. I mean, it should still be for you. Yeah. But, like, yeah, the audience isn't reading the script. The audience is seeing it happen. And don't be afraid to, like, change the script as you record it.
And honestly, don't be afraid to just make your ideal web series, because you're going to be your own biggest fan, and if you make something that you really love and that's catered completely to you and your own sense of humor and what you like to see in a story, you're going to love it, and then the people who watch it are going to like similar things to you and appreciate what you did because it's what you like about stories. So, like, don't make something thinking, this is what people will like. Make it because you think, this is what I like. Yeah. And I'm going to enjoy watching this when it's done.
I like Sherlock Holmes. I like Hamlet. I don't care about Oedipus Rex, but I like ridiculous comedic ideas.
I like friendship stories. That's basically what I like. Redemption stories, and I like friendship stories, so that's what I did. And I like sarcastic, snarky assholes who make a lot of jokes.
I think we can tell we like snarky, sarcastic assholes.
That's like every character that we write.
I like redheaded assassin ladies.
That's weird. You haven't made a web series about that.
I know.
What are you talking about, Sarah?
When is that gonna happen?
Never.
Yeah, I mean,
I did try to make the short film Life Before Was Tragic.
Which was about assassin ladies.
It was about assassin ladies.
What we've come to the conclusion at the end of this hour is you gotta make that into a web series.
If I can
and the
find
cast
the
of
people.
Amontillado.
And the cast of Amontillado.
The reboot
and
of
the yellow wallpaper.
The stop or the shop. What is it called?
The stop.
The stop.
I'm pretty sure it's what it was.
We're gonna do
it was called
We're gonna do a reboot of the first ever web series.
It was
the spot. We flipped the letters around. Okay, so coming to you soon, except not actually. Not like in a Eddy Rex, we actually made it way, but in a actually, we're not actually making this way.
I mean, I do really want to make Life Before Was Tragic, but I gotta find people who can both dance and also do martial arts.
This one. Yeah.
And also not get sued with the music I want to use in it.
Well, that's another conversation for another time.
So you want to wrap this
Coming in 2075, Life Before Was Tragic.
After Gay Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah. No, that's happening in 2048.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah,
after.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, so, thank you for listening to us ask you, actually, not tell, ask you, is web series right for you? So I'm going to give you a moment so you can answer that yes or no question to yourself.
How'd you do?
Yeah. Good choice there.
Yeah. No, it's just a yes or no answer question.
You've taken all of our thoughts into thoughtful consideration. Yeah. We're proud of you.
I think you've made the right decision.
Yeah. Whoever's listening.
Everybody listening to this sitting on the other end like, I have no fucking clue now.
Don't worry, there's going to be 9 more episodes of us telling you how to make a web series. Yeah. So if your answer is right now, I don't know.
Just keep listening.
You'll just keep listening to the rest of them. At this point in time, I'm planning on putting them out on would it be bi-weekly if I'm putting them out twice a week, or is bi-weekly every other week?
It's both.
Bi-weekly is both, and that's confusing as hell.
Which is great, because the first word is bi, and bi is both. Anyway, so they'll be coming out, twice a week over a period of 5 weeks. So you will learn a lot about making web series.
And there'll be lots of web series creators, not just us.
Yeah.
I mean, always Sara.
Always me. But, I specifically brought Nicole on here because she kind of made an original web series.
What do you mean, kind of? I wrote it.
Straddles the line between literary and original.
I didn't adapt a myth. No, I didn't, do the myth of Hercules or something.
It's not an adaptation, but some people would consider a literary web series.
Yes. Anyway. And then
because some things are considered literary web series, but it's like, oh look, it's
Classic Alice is an original story, but they just used literature in it.
Yeah. Then I brought Shannen on here because she lives here and she pays most of the rent.
And I know how to use a microphone.
Yeah, that's basically it. So hope we helped you figure out if your story is right for a web series or short film, and Also, we learned a little bit about the history of web series,
Yes.
which is important.
Yeah.
We're all gonna go watch The Spot now.
If we can find it.
I'm sure it's somewhere.
If the website still works. Anyway, all right.
1995.
Goodbye.
Well, thank you guys for listening.
Bye. Woo.